Good afternoon, Saints fans and NFL fans all across the world. I'm John Hendrix with Saints News Network, alongside Brendan Boylan. And look, there's a lot of emotions coming into this game, Brendan. How are you feeling about today?
I think New Orleans and the Saints being able to play a home game, even though it's a weird atmosphere, right? You're right there in the Superdome, and typically you have 75,000 screaming fans, but today it's a little different with just about 3,000. I think the Saints have to be feeling good. Obviously, getting healthy is a big part of the equation here today, and they get Michael Thomas back, they get Alvin Kamara back, and then the list goes on of all these guys that the New Orleans Saints get back, and it's probably the healthiest the team has been all season long. You're playing a team that you've played once before this season, and a team that really just snuck their way into the playoffs. So I think if you're the Saints, you're feeling pretty good about yourself today.
Yeah, look, and sorry, I was probably having a little bit of technical issues. It's 2021, but nothing's changed really yet so far. So, look, I mean, you look at it coming into this. I mean, you said it. The Saints are as healthy as they've been probably since week one, right? You get all the key pieces back. Alvin Kamara's back. Michael Thomas is back. I mean, really, the biggest thing you're missing offensively is Traquan Smith. But, I think Marquez Callaway is a guy that can step up and be in that number 3 role, and I think he's primed for a bigger role next year. Cesar Ruiz is going to play at right guard. Josh Hill is going to be back today. That's a huge piece for this offense and what they want to do offensively going forward. I mean, you look at this offense, Brendan, and obviously all of this is going to probably hinge a little bit on number 9. A lot of speculation out there, a lot of things that saying, hey, this could be it for Drew. What is your gut telling you, and what do you think about the offense going today against this Bears?
Well, I think, the big thing is you look back at that last game that they played in Week 8, and a lot of people want to pull from that game because obviously you played the team. It's the same season, same year. But you look back at it, and the New Orleans Saints had virtually nobody offensively in terms of wide receivers. I mean, they were bone thin dry in that game. So this game for Drew, you get everybody back. Obviously, Drew coming back from injury now had 3 games to get more comfortable. And we've seen some nice progression out of Drew since that Kansas City game and being more comfortable, making some good throws. He had a couple great touchdown passes last week against Carolina where he was able to lift it over a linebacker and put it, in the hands of Emmanuel Sanders. I think it's the one that I'll use as an example. That was a great throw, just some vintage Drew Brees stuff. So today for the Saints offense to have virtually everybody back except for Traquan Smith, like you said, and then the ball kind of rolled your way with Alvin Kamara, right? I think a lot of people say, well, if the Saints play Sunday, they're going to get Alvin back, but that wasn't the case. If Alvin started showing symptoms and wasn't an asymptomatic kind of situation, he wasn't going to play today. So the ball rolled in your favor having Alvin Kamara. I think the biggest piece they're missing is Nick Easton, who I think has actually had a pretty good year when he's been healthy. But you get to throw Cesar Ruiz in there, and you're not throwing a guy in who has no experience. He's got plenty of experience due to multiple injuries across the offensive line. So I think the Saints offense, they're rolling on all cylinders. The one thing I was surprised about was Ty Montgomery inactive today for New Orleans. But that does tell me they have full confidence Alvin Kamara is going to be able to take as many snaps as he usually does.
Yeah, participated in Zoom calls this week. Very active, so it's not like he's just been sitting at home doing nothing and all that. That's not who Alvin is anyways. But I think offensively, too, you look at this matchup, a lot of things are different in this last game that they played. I mean, they played Nick Foles. Today they played Trubisky. Last year when they were played in Chicago, they played Trubisky. The Bears are without Darnell Mooney. That's a huge loss. And they're all down 2 of their 3 starting corners, tongue-tied today. A little bit of nerves in here, a little bit, but and no Roquan Smith. So, look, the Saints offense has an ability to move the football. I think as long as they don't come out flat, they are able to move the ball a little bit. Maybe you might see a little bit of struggles with Mike Thomas a little bit early. I doubt it, just because I feel like these guys have been playing in practice, and Thomas is a guy who's ready to go out there, and just so many different ways the Saints are going to be able to beat you personnel-wise and such. I mean, again, Sean Payton in this particular game, you're looking back at other postseason games, people want to talk about, hey, he got cute or he does this. I mean, is this a situation where you just, hey, let's ground and pound it a little bit and give Drew a shorter field to work with? Or what do you think is the biggest key here for the Saints to move the ball offensively?
I think it's got to start with the run game, and I think that's been something you and I have been super repetitive about all season long with the pregame shows, is that when this team runs the ball, especially with Latavius Murray, this offense is 10 times better than when Alvin Kamara gets a handful of punches, or, like you said, maybe they get a little too cute with the pass game. I think, like you said, coming out flat's going to be the big concern. But I think those first 15 scripted plays that the Saints offense has, that's going to be the biggest key. And how effective can you run the football against a very underrated Chicago defense, right? I think because they're not the best team in their division, they're a team that barely snuck in to the playoffs. I think that's the one thing you have to look at and go, you know what, this Chicago team's super underrated. And Khalil Mack is, the best pass rusher of a generation if you want to go that far. And then you have Hicks on the defensive line too, who has had a career resurgence in Chicago after a little bit of time in New Orleans. That defensive line's no joke. Yes, they're missing some corners, but the less that Drew has to do in this game, the better the New Orleans Saints will be.
Yeah, look, and you talk about it. I mean, Khalil Mack's a special kind of breed. We know what they have on the inside with the team Hicks, obviously playing in New Orleans for a bit. But, for me, you got two some of the best tackles in the league that you're going against. Ryan Ramczyk, Teron Armstead. It's going to be hard to get off the edge. I feel like if the Bears are going to have any success today, and pardon, guys, it's loud already here, and there's no fans here. So, really, 3,000, but you know what I'm saying. But, look, I think with the Bears' defensive line, as long as they can generate some pressure up in the interior, I mean, that's what worked last year when Minnesota came. They emulated the formula of what the Falcons did on them earlier in the season, try to overload Pete, double them up, try to get situations in McCoy. He has to commit to one side. Maybe the running back doesn't pick up the blitz. Maybe there's some things Chuck Pagano can do here to disrupt the Saints and their timing. But conversely, I looked at what happened last year. I mean, Aaron Rodgers picked him apart for all intents and purposes. Aaron Jones was great, but, one particular play that stood out for me was you had Marquez Valdez-Scantling running, and you had Danny Trevathan, a linebacker, trailing him. So you can't have that for the Bears today and Chuck Pagano. So I think offensively the Saints should be able to move the football pretty well here today. I think now just turn some defense. Look, you're healthy. You got C.J. Gardner-Johnson back. No Trey Hendrickson. So obviously Davenport's a guy who's going to have to step up. I think Carl Granderson has really stepped up. But Trubisky, talk about the problem that he kind of poses. It's something with the Saints have had struggles a little bit against maybe a multiple quarterback this season.
Yeah, and I think the one thing with Trubisky that's been super underrated is his ability to just make the right play off of play action. David Montgomery's had a good year, over 1,000 yards for the Bears. He's been able to run the ball very effectively. If I'm not mistaken, it's 6 straight games with a touchdown for Montgomery, so he's able to sniff out the end zone when he's in the red zone. But for New Orleans, it's going to really start with, like you said, containing Trubisky. He's not a super mobile guy like a Lamar Jackson, but he's a guy that can definitely get out of the pocket and make some things happen. Kind of like Heineke last night. Not a guy who's super big, super fast, but can definitely get on his horse if he needs to. So keep Trubisky in the pocket. And then my big key in our roundtable article was you have to win defensively first and second down. You have to make Trubisky throw the ball in third and long, because if you put him in situations where it's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 4, somewhere in that area, the play action is going to be able to come into play, and that's where Trubisky is very good in this league. But I also think this is a big game for Mitch Trubisky, because just, 8 weeks ago, the whole league was ready to write this kid off, and all of a sudden he's won 3 of his last 4. He's in a position to face a good Saints team on the road, and if he's able to come out and have a good game, then what happens? You have to go to the Bears trust and go, well, am I your guy or am I not your guy? And if I'm not, I'm sure there's another team that's going to give me an opportunity. So a lot rides on this game for Mitchell Trubisky. So we'll see if he's able to calm those nerves, have a good game, stick to what he knows and what he's good at, or if that pressure cripples him a little bit and he makes some poor decisions against a really good New Orleans Saints defense.
Yeah, and look, I think for me, not having Darnell Mooney is a huge loss for them. He could stretch the field, but conversely, you get Marcus Williams back, and that's a huge upgrade for this defense. They've been doing well with PJ Williams and a lot of guys. And look, I think for me, checking to see what Alex Anzalone does. I think that last week was a big confidence boost for him, but you don't have Paul Alexander. I think Anzalone is a guy who's learned a lot from, basically playing special teams and being limited in just run packages, base run defense for the Saints. And look, I think he's got to be somebody on this defense. He's got to take it up to another level. Obviously, we're going to have some big hands full with guys like Jimmy Graham, Allen Robinson in the secondary. We'll see what version of Marshall and Lattimore shows up. But, look, it's all about the timing. And let's just talk about it. If the Bears win today, Brendan, if they do what?
The Bears win today if they can limit the New Orleans Saints' passing attack down the field. I know a lot of Saints fans are probably thinking I'm crazy for saying that because Drew Brees is air yards, and that was a big narrative earlier in the season. But since he's came back from injury, I think we've seen a Drew Brees that's been able to let it rip a little bit. And with a full arsenal of healthy guys, John, you and I know Sean Payton well enough to go, Sean's going to draw some things up to push that ball downfield and have some of those quote-unquote cute plays, right? If the Bears can limit how the Saints play the game deep with the football, particularly in the passing game, they're going to be okay. But here's the struggle for the Bears in this game. And you mentioned it earlier, John. They're really banged up in the defensive backfield. And Drew Brees is going to know that. Sean Payton is going to know that. They're going to try to pick those guys apart early. And some of those underneath patterns all of a sudden become really fly routes down the field. And you never know with the New Orleans Saints what they're going to be able to do in those particular instances. And if Chicago's able to limit that and keep it short and let some of their athletic guys go get the football, I think they're putting themselves in a prime position to win, but it is an uphill battle for Chicago. I think the line says that the Saints are 10-point favorites.
Yep. Saints are 0-2 in their playoff history against the Bears. They lost the 1990 playoff, and they lost in the 2006 NFC Championship game, as many fans could probably remember. Again, they've won 6 straight against Chicago, I think, based on their last meetings. It's been a while, but, you guys remember what happened a long time ago with that. You've been a fan for, since Sean Payton came on board, and a lot of emotions that go into that. But, look, again, I just feel like this is the game. You're healthy. You have no excuses. This is the time you put it all together. So, with that being said, Brendan, let's talk score prediction. Who wins this game, and why, and how much?
I took the Saints 35-10 in a podcast earlier this week, and that hasn't really changed. And the big question there is, wow, are you really taking the Saints in a blowout victory in the playoffs? I say yes. I think the Saints are the deepest team in football. I think they've proved that time and time again this season. They've overcame so much adversity, and now all of a sudden, and it's been a big talking point in our 13 minutes so far, they're healthy. Top to bottom. I think Mike Thomas is going to have a phenomenal game. It's a guy that he's a competitor, right? He's coming off of the greatest single wide receiver season of all time, arguably last year. It followed that up with a rather forgettable 2020 because of injury. I think he's hungry. I think this whole team's hungry. The hashtag is for NOLA here in the playoffs, but I think for a lot of these players, they know it's for Drew, and they're going to give their absolute best here in the wild card round. And with a victory, they'd move forward to take on Tampa Bay next week.
Yep, that's the other thing is, I said it, on Twitter yesterday. It's like, I don't really care who they play. I just need them to take care of business today. And I think that's how we all feel, right? And so if they win, then Tampa comes to town, sets up a Brady versus Breeze, matchup again where you're going to have to go down that rabbit hole facing the team 3 times in a row. But look, Saints are favored by over 10 points in this game. I see him winning this game. I'm going to take him 34-21. And the only reason it's going to be 21 is because Chicago picks up the garbage touchdown. I think they're the real deal. I think they're going to challenge the Packers for the NFC Championship, and it starts today. I think we know as the people who are Saints fans that this is a nerve-wracking type of thing. But, again, I feel this is the real deal. This is the year to do it. I don't know if it's going to be the whole, the whole run like everybody wants to, but, man, what a story if it could be the ending to send off Drew Brees riding into the sunset. So, Brendan, any parting shots before we head out?
For the New Orleans Saints, enjoy a full offensive arsenal. We've been waiting for it all year. My favorite stat so far this year has been that Brees, Thomas, and Kamara have played a grand total of 10 quarters together. So hopefully you can make that 14 by the end of the day. And, I think the New Orleans Saints are primed for a deep playoff run. I know we've said that each of the last few years. It's ended in heartbreak each of the last few seasons. But if there's a year to do it, it is this year, and it all starts today.
Absolutely. Look, guys, we appreciate everything that you guys do and supporting us. On behalf of Brendan Boylan, we just definitely want to tell you thank you so much for your support. We don't want the right end today, so hopefully it doesn't. Be sure to tune in to Halftime Report with Kyle T. Mosley and Bob Rose. Check out all of our work on Saints News Network at saints.media or si.com/NFL/Saints. Enjoy the game, folks, and we will chat soon.